This is Hakimi Abdul-Jabbar. The title of my podcast is Constitutionalism, the Rule of Law, and Equality and Equal Protection in a Progressive Democracy. Constitutionalism, the Rule of Law, and Equality and Equal Protection in a Progressive Democracy. 31st of May 2018, 5 p.m. Malaysia time, UTC +8, GMT +8. Constitutionalism, the rule of law, and equality and equal protection in a progressive democracy. The rule of law is opposite to the rule of man. The rule of law is based on the constitution of the ruled, while the rule of man is based on political power of rulers. Every country in this world that has a constitution as a supreme law upholds the principle of the rule of law. In Malaysia, Article 4, Clause 1 of the Federal Constitution clearly states that the Constitution is the supreme law of the Federation of Malaysia. Thus, the very principle of the rule of law is upheld by the said Malaysian Constitution. The rule of law, which is the heart of every democratic institution, effectively and efficaciously limits the arbitrary and despotic exercise of government powers by rulers, potentates, people's representatives, officials, citizens, etc., which result in abuses and oppression. Public accountability is an essential feature of any democratic government espousing the rule of law. When rulers, potentates, people's representatives, officials, citizens, etc., are reposed with so much power, it tends to corrupt them, to the point that they will feel not only above others, but above the law as well. They can and will certainly use this enormous power to escape the long arm of the law. Such absolute power can and will shield them from individual criminal responsibility or personal liabilities. Those who can buy a very expensive criminal justice system can escape criminal prosecution, punishment, and civil liabilities laid down by the rule of law. The criminal justice system usually consists of 1. The legislative branch of government that creates the laws, 2. Adjudication by the courts, the judicial branch of government, and 3. Penal corrections, which is composed of jails, prisons, probation, and parole. Generally, the criminal justice system has distinct agencies, which are the police, the courts, and penal corrections operating together under the rule of law, and as the principal means of maintaining the rule of law within the society. In Malaysia, the pillars of criminal justice system are observed to be 1. Law enforcement, 2. Public prosecution, 3. The courts, 4. Penal and correctional institutions, 5. The community. These institutional mechanisms that operate and maintain the rule of law are its agents. Nevertheless, the poor and powerless are the usual victims of injustice by the agents in the rule of law. This fact flies in the face of the legal maxim that the law applies to all, otherwise none at all. This happens because of the bad agents, whether appointed or elected, who have not been envisioned to exist by an idealistic good polity. When a good government is run by bad agents, not to mention the existence of crooks among them, the rule of law is nothing but an empty rhetoric. The good government with a good constitution becomes a despotic government with a good constitution when its agents are bad. The rule of law becomes the rule of joke in a democratically installed government. When bad agents fail to perform their respective functions in the rule of law, then the law of the jungle takes over the rule of law. The principle of might is right prevails, and so are bribery, other forms of corruption, and influence peddling. The application of the rule of law is or becomes uneven, those who have and those who have not. That is in accordance to the law of the nature, for men are not created equal by birth. This is in direct contradistinction to Article 8, Clause 1 of the Federal Constitution, that unequivocally stipulates that all persons are equal before the law and are entitled to the equal protection of the law. Poverty itself can be a cause of disobedience and ignorance of the rule of law. Poverty is the state of being scarce of food or money and other resources. Without the normal fulfillment of the basic necessities in life, people will disobey the rule of law in order to survive. The poor do not have the resources to access formal and proper education in life, resulting in ignorance of the laws as well as the rule of law. When the illiterate or uneducated poor are the offenders or victims of crimes, they look at the processes of the rule of law to be cumbersome, expensive, and tedious. The courts are beyond their reach and means to seek redress for the injustices that they have suffered. Some of them resort to the law of the jungle that is simple for them to comprehend and to execute. The poor can understand what an eye for an eye and a tooth for a tooth means, but not the rules and procedures of courts. Thus, in a progressive democratic society such as Malaysia, in which the supremacy of the federal constitution itself sanctions the efficacy of the rule of law, the illiterate and uneducated poor undoubtedly deserve the opportunities in attaining equal education standards as their fellow Malaysians, in order to lift them out of the poverty bracket and thus reinforce the rule of law in Malaysia. Copyright Hakimi bin Abdul Jabbar, AJ Hakimi, 31st May 2018, Malaysia.